Coming to you from Jerry Collis Field, it's Bakersfield College Renegades Baseball. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tom Myers, joined by my broadcast partner, the Dr. Julian Wilson. And today, the Renegades host the Vaqueros of Glendale City College. BC is even on the season at 500 with 15 wins and 15 losses. They have a 6 and 7 conference record, tied for third place in the Western State Conference South Division with LA Valley and LA Mission. The Renegades lost 2 of 3 games this last series against LA Mission, but they still have a chance to climb back into the second place as they chase Antelope Valley that has a conference record of 8 and 5. The Renegades have been up and down over the past few weeks, but a huge surprise is the bat of sophomore third baseman Daji Salcedo. Salcedo currently has a batting average of 209, but in the last 5 games he's been hitting .444 with 11 RBIs. Remarkably, before that latest hot streak, he hadn't driven in a single run all the way back to February 20th. Look for him to keep on track today if the Renegades want to pull out the win. Glendale is 21-10-1 with a perfect 13-0 record in the Western State Conference and has sole possession of first place in the South Division, currently on a 7-game win streak. They've won 13 of their last 15 games. They'll be led today by sophomore outfielder Alex Dolan, who leads the team in both batting average, batting .379, stolen bases with 20. He's also second on the team with 35 RBIs, trailing only behind catcher Max Price by 2. So, Julian, a fantastic day of baseball here today up at Bakersfield College. And the Renegades did drop the game the other day by a score of 9-6, letting up 9 runs in those first 3 innings. That's kind of a tough ask.
It's tough for anybody. And, of course, like I said, the Renegades are playing well. That stat line that you let out on Salcedo is amazing. The explosion, like you said, in his statistics, he is doing an amazing job right now.
So the Renegades have Liam O'Reilly on the mound today. And a high bounce chopper over to first base. And Trenton Hernandez there to put it away. 1 down here in the first inning. And the Renegades have had trouble getting out of those first 3 innings. They have been outscored so far this season, in the last 5 games at least, 21-6 in the first 3 innings of the last 4 games. And that's a tough statistic to look at just in sheer, when you're playing from behind every single game right out the gate, it's kind of hard to play catch up.
Right, and just like anything with baseball, a lot of it deals in ways on the pitcher, unfortunately. However he comes out, that's the way the game's going to go.
So we saw O'Reilly pitching a week ago in a matchup where he hit 7 batters over the course of 5 innings. And so kind of hoping that Liam will be able to right the ship today. They were playing him inside pretty tight the other day as well. So that one pulled through the gap between second and first. And the Vaqueros have a runner aboard with 1 out here in the top of the first inning.
And Tom, I've noticed that the wind has decided to join us.
It has. We were complaining about freezing the other day up here on top of the press box. And unfortunately, I thought it was going to be a nice calm day. And the wind has decided to come on back out. And the wind right now blowing out in right center on the flags there from left to right. That one over to shortstop. And the Renegades, Hudson Reynolds, Nick Martin turned the double play, and we're going to be out of this first inning. A surprise for the Renegades, a 0 on the board as we head to the bottom of the first, coming up after this.
Life's better when you're a member of Valley Strong Credit Union, because footing the bill's hard, but getting points makes it easy. And going to the pharmacy's a pain. But saving on your prescriptions is a relief. And unexpected bills are hard. But getting your paycheck direct deposited early makes it easier. When life moves, keeping up is easy with Valley Strong's new checking benefits.
Back here in the bottom of the first inning, leading off will be Jordan Brito, followed by Nick Martin and Trent Martin. Trent Martin in to catch today for Ben Ulyat. Ulyat actually is the designated hitter, so it'll be Brito, Martin, Trenton Hernandez, Isaac Torres, Ben Ulyat batting sixth, Luke Mann, Hudson Reynolds, and in the bottom of the order, number 9, Dodgy Salcido, who, like I said earlier in the pregame, is on fire so far in this last 5 games. 11 RBIs, batting .444. So once again, Jordan Brito, the center fielder, leading off for the Renegades. On the mound for the Vaqueros, Matt Kushis, the sophomore right-handed pitcher. He's appeared in 11 games so far with a 2-2 record and a .430 ERA. Ball fouled off to the backstop, and the count's 1-1. Jordan Brito with a .336 batting average so far on the season and 20 RBIs, one of the leaders on this squad. Actually, just behind Liam O'Reilly, who has 23, and Isaac Torres, who has 24. Dodgy Salcido had 15 RBIs on the season. 11 of those came in the last 5 games. That one's outside. Now the count's 2-2. Here comes the 2-2 pitch. Swung on down the right field line. It's fair. Alex Dolan over to cut it off. And Brito on with a base hit here in the bottom of the first inning with Nick Martin, the second baseman, coming to the plate. Once again, the Renegades have not really scored well in the beginning part of the last 4 games, only putting in 6 runs. And their competitors have just stomped all over them. And that one hits the outside corner for a strike. 0-1 the count. Martin is a freshman and a .231 batting average. Brito took off and made it there. The ball's dropped anyway, but he would have been in under the tag, and he gets a stolen base. And Jordan Brito, the stolen base leader on this squad for the Renegades, and they had to know he was going to take off. One and one the count. Nobody out here in the bottom of the first inning. And a swing and a miss by Martin, and the count's 1-2. Renegades looking to get some production here in the early part of this game. That one fouled off out of play. One-two the count to Nick Martin. Martin, a freshman, one of the leading leaders on the squad at bats this season with 104 appearances at bat. Only 2 other players have more, well, I beg your pardon, 3 other players have more appearances at the plate. That one fouled off, and it's going to head all the way over onto Haley, and it's going to go down the street. And the neighbors across the street are going to wonder how a baseball appeared all the way over in their yard. 2-2 the count. That one's going to be outside. Now the count's full. And there's 2 games going on today. One between the Vaqueros and the Renegades, and another one between Julian Wilson, myself, and the Wind.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the softball game.
And trying to get this shade up here to keep us out of the sun in the right spot, but it keeps blowing over. And that one's fouled back. And Nick Martin doing a job right now and making it difficult for Matt Kushis. And we don't have a pitch count on him right now. But at this at bat, he's had two balls fouled off, and the count is full. So this is the 8th or 9th pitch so far. And that one fouled off once again. And Nick Martin just hanging around, trying to advance Jordan Brito over to third base. Martin's pitched 46 innings so far. And that one's popped up over to third, and it's going to fall just foul, about 1.5 to 2 feet foul on that line. And Ethan Pena, the third baseman, was running back trying to spot it and just kind of lost it a little bit, but it would have been a tough get for him anyway. And now Nick Martin has had Matt Kushis rattle off 11 pitches on him so far in this at-bat. Here comes the pitch, and it's high, and he's going to take a walk down to first base. And now the runners at first and second for the Renegades, with Trent Martin, the catcher, coming to the plate. Trent Martin once again filling in catching duties today for Ben Uliap with a batting average of .387 and a slugging percentage of .435. So trying to put one into play to advance the runners and give the Renegades a chance to get on the board here in the bottom of the first inning. Ball low, and the count's 1 ball, no strikes. Martin's only had 62 at-bats so far this season. Again, as the backup catcher to Ben Uliat, hasn't seen a lot of action, but definitely has the bat at a .387 batting average. And Uliat, once again, will be in the 6th spot today as the designated hitter. Here's the 1-1 pitch, and that one's driven just over shortstop. Brito on his horse. And Martin's going to be into third base with a stand-up. And the base hit by Trent Martin as he delivers an RBI for the Renegades. And they're on here in the first inning with 1 scored and nobody out. And Trenton Hernandez, the first baseman, coming to the plate. So the Renegades with nobody out here in the bottom of the first inning with runners at the corners. And Trenton Hernandez with a .215 batting average now coming to the plate. Hernandez playing first base, and a little mix-up there. Dribbles that one over to second, and the throw over to third base isn't in time, and the Renegades on with another score. And Martin just wheeled it around second base and kept going. And David Lozano, the second baseman, I don't know where he was going on that play. as he went to his right to cover second for some reason. I don't know if there was a mix-up there. Maybe he thought it was going to be closer to first base and just didn't get a beat on the ball. But now the Renegades score once again, and they're leading 2-0 here in the bottom of the first inning and putting some runs on the board on the Vaqueros and trying to wreck that 13-0 record over the last 13 games. And I stand corrected, that was 13-0 over 15 games. They did lose 2 of 15, but hey, 13-0, perfect conference record so far, Julian.
Exactly. You know, in that last play, I'm still trying to figure out what the mix-up was. I'm kind of reviewing it. I'm just like,
and where he's standing right now is exactly where the ball went, and maybe I don't know if the umpire got caught in the way. I'm really not sure where that was. That one hits the outside corner and called strike, and now the count 1-1.
And, you know, it wouldn't have been so bad, but you gave up a run as a result of that mix-up. It wasn't like, you know, well, okay, another guy got on base. We gave up a run. So that one will definitely be reviewed when they get back to the dugout.
That one in there for a called strike, and now the count's 1-2 to Isaac Torres, the right fielder. And a couple of players injected into this roster today that we haven't seen a whole lot of this season. And I'm inclined to think Kurt Towns is trying to mix things up a little bit and get some production out of his bench. That one's way outside. Now the count's 2-2. Isaac Torres, the sophomore outfielder, with a .350 batting average. .117 at bats so far on the season. Back into the lineup here. Now it's going to hit the outside corner, and he's going to go sit down. And one out now here in the bottom of the first inning, with Big Ben Ulyat coming up now and trying to continue scoring in the bottom of this first inning. Ulyat, a product of Frontier High School here in Bakersfield. I've known Ben for a number of years, being his announcer over at Frontier. A fantastic young man and a fantastic ball player. And his little sister Sarah still goes to Frontier High School. So I get to spend a little bit of time with her in the afternoons, and she's a fantastic young lady. And that one caught way out of bounds. And the double play is going to get called on that one, and no run across. And they're going to come to the bottom of the inning, and a huge mistake over at first base by Trenton Hernandez. I don't know what he was thinking. The ball was well foul.
Right.
And the runner over at third, Trent Martin, was tagging to come home. Right, stand corrected. It was Trenton Martin over at first, and Trenton Hernandez was tagging. And had the ball been caught, he could have tagged and come home and scored an additional run. But now the mistake is made, and you can't take it back once it happens.
You can't. You know, and this is that half of baseball right there, characterized by two mistakes by both teams. That dribble out to second base, and then that foul ball. And just, you know, you only have a moment to make the decision. Are you going to run? You're going to stay. So
right. And, you know, it's funny. I had a nice conversation with Kurt Townsend the other day after the game last week. And, you know, it was just a nice, easy conversation about, you know, the faith that he has in this team. But it's a process.
Right.
And trying to get things kind of figured out. He's got some really good players, and just trying to get them to buy in to, you know, doing the right thing. And, you know, mistakes like that one by Martin, just something that you don't want to see on the base path, especially on a ball, you know, heading out of foul territory. Why would you find yourself all the way over to second base on a play like that when the ball's well foul?
Yes.
And if he doesn't get to it, you're just wasting time.
That's right. You know, they practice hard, all these teams, but especially these Renegades, they practice hard to avoid those types of mistakes.
That's exactly
where you don't have
right.
to think about those things. You know exactly what to do.
Yeah,
so
precisely. So we get out of the first inning. The Renegades score 2 runs, and they lead here in the top of the second, 2-0. And now David Lozano coming to the plate for the Vaqueros. Lozano with a .308 batting average, freshman infielder. 120 at-bats so far this season. He is the leader in that statistic for the Vaqueros. And a guy with 120 at-bats and over a .300 batting average, definitely somebody that you want to make sure gets plenty of looks.
Right.
So coming up in the top of the second inning, it's going to be David Lozano, Max Price, and Jordan Viramontes. Price, the designated hitter for pitcher Max Kushis. And Viramontes, the first baseman. Here comes the 2-1 pitch. Oh, a nice curveball, misses just inside. And you can hear some groans
Yeah, I heard.
coming from the stands. They wanted that one bad. Now the count's 3-1. And we talked about this last week. Liam O'Reilly has a fantastic curveball. But in some instances, he kind of loses control of that one. And again, he plugged 7 guys in the last game. So we saw it. And I talked to him about it afterwards, and he said, well, it just kind of got away from me. And I laughed a little bit, and I said, 7 times? And he kind of giggled. And he's going to walk Lozano over to first base here in the top of the second inning. And a base runner is on for the Vaqueros, with Max Price, the designated hitter, now coming to the plate.
You know, and I don't know, and maybe the coach had him pitch through those troubles, and that's why he got those 7 batters that he hit. But he must be trying to perfect a spot that he's trying to hit. And I have a feeling that when he perfects hitting that spot, there isn't a batter that's going to be able to stand there to hit anything that he throws.
Well, and Max Price has been obviously looking at a scouting report, because he is literally standing on the inside part of the batter's box, right on the – his feet or toes are on the line.
Right.
And
He's
so
right
he's
tight.
crowding that plate, and I got a feeling O'Reilly's going to hit him at some point. I just do. And a strike called, and the count's 1-1. So somebody did a scouting report on Liam O'Reilly, and you can tell right now. And a big swing and a miss, and the count is 1-2. And O'Reilly normally playing over at first base. The last 2 times we've got to see him, though, he has been pitching.
He has been pitching, exactly.
And down he goes, and O'Reilly gets the first strikeout of the game. And now Jordan Viramontes, the first baseman, coming to the plate.
And he just threw a nice series of pitches there. A very nice series.
Absolutely. First pitch outside for a ball. Viramontes batting .295 on the season. But he's got a .547 slugging percentage. So he makes contact. And Isaac Torres going back, way back. Oh, and it's off his glove. He loses it along the warning track and picks it up. And coming around, David Lozano over to third base, standing up. And an error in the outfield. I don't know if they're going to charge that as an error. It was way up there, and the wind just carried it. And it looked like when he hit it that he popped it up.
Right.
But, boy, I'll tell you what, Torres was just going back and back and back. And it was dropping right down and just off his glove, and he kind of lost a handle on it. But I'll tell you what, David Lozano had the wheels going because he was tagging at first and got all the way around to third. And Isaac Torres, once it fell out of his glove, it kind of rolled along the fence out there on the warning track. And again, we don't know what that's getting charged. I would hazard a guess that it's going to get charged an error to Isaac Torres. And that one's driven into left field on a base hit, and a Vaquero is going to score. And now it's 2-1 with one out here in the top of the second inning. And Ethan Pena with the RBI now. Scores David Lozano. And Ethan Kearney now coming to the plate, the center fielder. Kearney batting .231, and he's in the 8th spot. So Riley trying to get out of a jam here in the top of the second inning with runners at the corners. Kearney with a .339 on-base percentage. That one's inside. A swing and a miss on the outside of the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Ethan Kearney. Kearney, a sophomore outfielder rather. And the throw is on time. And down he goes. And we're going to head to the bottom of the third inning right after this.
Life's better when you're a member of Valley Strong Credit Union. Because footing the bill's hard, but getting points makes it easy. And going to the pharmacy's a pain. But saving on your prescriptions is a relief. And unexpected bills are hard. But getting your paycheck direct deposited early makes it easier. When life moves, keeping up is easy with Valley Strong's new checking benefits.
Back for the bottom of the second inning, and a little confusion going on up here. We're trying to figure it out, and we've kind of looked at the stats, and Julian Wilson and I believe that it was only 2 outs.
Well, only 1 out.
Well, it was 2 because there was a strikeout at the top of the inning, and then that throw out at second was another out. So we're trying to find that third out. So if anybody has any ideas, I don't know how all of us have gotten lost up here.
I mean, we're sitting here, we're watching the game. We're right here.
Luke Mann jumps on the first pitch, flies out to right, and that'll bring up Hudson Reynolds, the shortstop now. Hudson Reynolds batting .286 so far. That one's on the outside for a ball 1. I'm going to have to take a look back at my stats. I keep track of every single statistic as the batters are going up and down, and for some reason I think I missed something. And maybe we're not wrong, but nobody argued. The officials didn't argue. Neither of the teams argued.
Yeah.
BC certainly wasn't going to argue.
No.
There was a strikeout at the top of the inning, and then that throw out at second base, and I don't know where the third out is. So, again, we're trying to figure that one out. That one's a little bit high.
Well, you know, Tom, I shudder to say this, but I'm sure that this has happened before where a team left the field before they were supposed to, but nobody said anything because he did so well.
Count is 2-2 to Hudson Reynolds. That one a check swing. They're going to say that he went. And down he goes, and now there's 2 out in the bottom of the second inning, and the second strikeout for Max Kushis so far. And now Daje Salcido, our new favorite up here. Salcedo with a big swing. Count is 0-1. And again, Salcido over the last 5 games batting .444 and driving in 11 runs. That one hits the outside corner, and now it's 0-2. Here comes the 0-2 pitch. That one hit down. Oh, and it's missed over at first base. Salcido's got to get on. And an error charged to the first baseman, Jordan Viramontes. With 2 out here in the bottom of the second, and Jordan Brito now coming to the plate. Brito got a hit in the first inning. The Renegades went through 6 batters in that first inning and scored 2 runs. They lead right now 2-1. That one's popped up out of play. Bounced off the roof to the snack bar. And the snack bar is open today.
It's open.
Last time they delivered us a couple of hot dogs and some drinks, and
yeah, they kind of came airmail.
it's kind of it kind of did. Wind blowing out in right field. That one almost into the gap, knocks it down, throws over to first and gets him. And 3 away here in the bottom of the second. We'll head to the top of the third. You're watching Renegade Baseball on Renegade Vision.
Life's better when you're a member of Valley Strong Credit Union. Because footing the bill's hard, but getting points makes it easy. And going to the pharmacy's a pain. But saving on your prescriptions is a relief. And unexpected bills are hard. But getting your paycheck direct deposited early makes it easier. When life moves, keeping up is easy with Valley Strong's new checking benefits. A little bit of clarification from that last inning, and something that we didn't count,
But when Ethan Kearney was up, he actually struck out on that pitch on the throw down to second base. So that was the third out. And thank goodness my good buddy downstairs, Steve Lynch, found that, had that already in his stat book, so he gave us that call. So nice pickup by Steve, kind of letting us know what's going on. So Jackson Lyons now, the shortstop, up to bat. Ball hit to short right field. A good job by Nick Martin going back. Backed up by Isaac Torres over there. And one away. And a little bit of wind up here today, trying to negotiate and still see our screens. And boy, it's all kinds of mayhem.
Yeah, and I just got a ladybug, a beautiful ladybug. It just landed on my screen.
Did you?
What should I do?
You don't mess with a ladybug. We all know that. That's the rule.
That's what I was told. Yeah.
So Lions away, and Alex Dolan, the leadoff hitter, coming up to bat now. Dolan's grounded out to first in the first inning. Two balls, one strike, the count. Handled by Martin. Over to Hernandez. And 2 outs here in the top of the third. A little bit easier inning for Liam O'Reilly. And Nick Martin busy over there at second base. And now Daniel Ruiz coming to the plate. Ruiz got a hit in the first inning. And a big curveball from O'Reilly for a first ball strike. But then Ethan Munoz came up behind him. And he got thrown out on a double play in the top of the first. Another big curveball by O'Reilly. Hits the corner for a strike. And a fastball inside. And now it's 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. Riley looks in for the sign. Kind of taking his time here. That one fouled off the plate. The Renegades up and down so far in a couple of innings. Had a little bit of trouble getting out of that second inning. Fastball high. Now the count's 2-2.
You know, the thing that I like about what O'Reilly's doing today is he's up there with a lot of confidence. Now, the good thing is when he threw those pitches and hit those batters, he didn't look frazzled.
Ball over to Nick Martin, and he puts him away, and that'll do it for the top of the third as we head to the bottom of the third. We'll be back right after this. Back for the top of the third inning. Nick Martin will be leading off. And it'll be Nick Martin, Trent Martin, and Trenton Hernandez here. Julian,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Names abound all over the place. I got to make sure that I talk the difference between Nick Martin, Trent Martin, and Trenton Hernandez, and Julius and Julian Wilson.
Oh, gosh. You said Julius, and you tapped me, and I'm like,
Julian, yeah.
And I said, that's not my name.
Again, yeah, but I'm getting all these names kind of mixed up because there's a whole bunch of them that are like each other. So, and I get Julius mixed up because I do call him the Dr. Julian.
Dr. J.
As opposed to Dr. Julius,
Right.
as opposed to Dr. J, which was Julius Irving.
That's how it started.
That is how it started. That was Vance Paul that did that. That's all Vance Paul.
Yeah, I used to wear, for those of you who don't know, I used to wear this afro. Looks just like Dr. J's afro. That's how I got it, and it stuck with me. I don't have it anymore.
So Nick Martin over at first base, got on with a base hit. And Trent Martin now, the catcher, up to bat. Martin got a hit and an RBI in that first inning, and then got thrown out over at first base on that bad play. Nick Martin down to second base, and again, it seems like Jackson Lyons is just having trouble hanging onto the ball, and I'm not really sure if he's kind of bent over like he got hit in the face. And I don't know if the ball got him or if Nick Martin's shoulder had made contact with him. So hopefully Jackson Lyons is okay. He's kind of walking it off right now. They're going to give him a little bit of a second here to kind of get his bearings about him. Martin with a good stolen base, got a good jump, and came in under the tag. Even if the ball was caught by Lyons, still would have beaten it. And now he's going to take off on the hit and run. And the Renegades being aggressive right now.
Right.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Trent Martin at the plate. Martin once again filling in as catcher today for Ben Uliot. And looking for his second hit and a chance to try to bring Nick Martin all the way around. And Martin being aggressive out there on the base path. Here comes the 1-2 pitch. Swung and popped up into right center. And Nick Martin's going to tag, and he's going to get there standing up over to third base. So Trent Martin does a good job of advancing Nick Martin into scoring position with 1 out. And I didn't see the call. They threw back over to second base. Apparently, Martin left before he had tagged. So they're saying that he left before the ball landed in the hands of right fielder Alex Dolan. And then they threw back over to second, say he left early, so they tagged him out. And he gets the call, and now there's 2 down. And the bases are cleared with Trenton Hernandez coming up now. So another running error by the Renegades here. 2 running errors in 2 innings.
You know, he was waiting to leave, and I was watching him, but it didn't look to me that he left early. But, of course, they're down on the ground. So
we will have to go back to the instant replay if we ever get instant replay, which I think we're going to get that one of these days, right? Right, Julian?
See, now I got to think about something else.
Julian's the one in charge of all that, just so all you know. So if you all want to write a letter.
Thanks, Tom.
We'll give his address at the end of the broadcast.
I appreciate you.
Swing and a miss, and down he goes. And the Vaqueros come away unscathed on what potentially could have been another run scored by the Renegades, and they're leading. The Renegades are leading 2-1 as we head to the 4th inning after this. And we're back. Ethan Munoz now up to bat. Catcher grounded out to shortstop in the first inning. And O'Reilly going back to that curveball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Curveball hits the outside corner. And now the count's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Slow dribbler down the third baseline. Bounces foul. We've been talking about a couple of the games that are coming up here up at BC this Saturday. The Renegades softball team will be here, and the broadcast will go in a strikeout. And O'Reilly has his 3rd of the game so far. So David Lozano now coming to the plate, the second baseman, who walked in the second inning. And he actually scored on a hit from Ethan Pena. Here comes the 0-1 pitch. That one's fouled back to the net and counts 0-2. So a game this week for the softball team will be broadcast. And that one's hit through the gap and into left field. And Lozano's on with a hit. And 1 out here in the top of the 4th inning. Max Price now coming to the plate, the designated hitter. Struck out in the second inning. And we're pretty close to the heart of that order that produced that run in the second inning for the Vaqueros. And a big curveball from O'Reilly hits the inside corner on Price, and the count's 0-1. The Vaqueros put up 9 runs on the Renegades, and that one, I don't know where that hit off the bat, and he's going to go into the double. He's going to beat out the throw. But Lozano's going to get thrown out over at second, and Price will be on at first with 2 down here in the top of the 4th inning. And now the first baseman, Jordan Viramonte, is coming to the plate. And Viramontes, if you recall, hit that ball to deep right field. And a first pitch strike. Isaac Torres went all the way back to the warning track to try to get it, and it didn't even look like it was hit that hard. He got it up in the air, and the wind is blowing out. That one foul down the third baseline, and the count's 0-2. And Isaac Torres was trying to get a beat on it, and just with the wind blowing out there, he really didn't have, too much of a chance. I think he could have gotten it. We still scored at an error. So 0-2 to Viramontes. And the strike is going to get called. Down he goes. And it's 1-3-4 out here in the top of the 4th inning. And we'll be back with more Bakersfield College Renegades baseball after this.
Life's better when you're a member of Valley Strong Credit Union. Because footing the bill's hard, but getting points makes it easy. And going to the pharmacy's a pain. But saving on your prescriptions is a relief. And unexpected bills are hard. But getting your paycheck direct deposited early makes it easier. When life moves, Keeping up is easy with Valley Strong's new checking benefits.
Back at the bottom of the fourth inning. And for the Renegades, it's going to be Isaac Torres, Ben Uliat, and Luke Mann. Torres struck out in his first at-bat in the first inning. Looking to bunt. Ball comes in high, and the count's 1-0. Grounder over to second. And the throw just in time from Lozano. And one away. And now Ben Uliat coming up to bat, the designated hitter. Uliat flew out to right in the first inning. That one outside, hits the corner. 0-1 the count. And so we keep going back to this, but I never were able to finish it. But softball does have a broadcast coming up on Saturday. It's their sophomore night.
Right.
And so Julian Wilson, you will be joined by, have we figured out yet? It will not be me. I'm going to the monster trucks with my grandson, Charlie. So Julian will have a guest speaker announcer, which I'm thinking might be Robert Chavez or Kenny Calvin. You might get stuck with one of those two fine gentlemen.
You know, yeah, we'll see. I mean, either way, there'll be a broadcast, and it will be sophomore afternoon. So definitely tune in. If you can come out, please come out, support these Renegades for sure.
For ticket information and other information on all of our spring sports, just go to gogades.com and look for the sport that you're looking for. And, in fact, a great little momentous occasion, and I kind of missed it, but one of the young ladies that plays on the beach volleyball team, Faith Ward, I follow her on social networks, had posted that they had their first practice in the new beach volleyball facility.
Wow.
Ever.
Yes.
Over in our new sports complex just this past week. So congratulations to them. Julian Wilson and I, last Friday, we were over at California State University Bakersfield calling the beach game over there for the day against Ventura College and Cuesta College. So had a really great day over there and just a fun kind of laid-back, easy day to call beach volleyball.
Yeah, it was a fun day. It was a fun day if you were watching online or if you were there. It was an absolutely fun day.
So Uliat goes down on strikes, and Luke Mann now coming to the plate, flew out to right in the second inning, and the count is 0-2. And Max Kushis has really had kind of his way with the Renegades in the last two innings. And this one, the third. First inning, he gave up 2 runs, but the Renegades haven't produced much since. Only 4 batters in the second inning, 3 in the third, and 2 so far with 2 out here in the fourth. That one over to third base, covered by Pena, and he's not going to be able to get there in time. And Luke Mann on with 2 out here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Hudson Reynolds now coming to the plate. The shortstop struck out in the second inning. And the Renegades just trying to get some production. They're leading 2-1 here in the bottom of the fourth inning. That one high and outside. The count's 1-0. We'd like to say a quick hello to Mr. Nick Carter's class over at Frontier High School and Mrs. Christy Myers, her class over at Frontier High School. Both of those teachers, fantastic supporters of our special education students in the current high school district. So, and a shout out to all those students that may be watching this afternoon. They do turn those games on occasion.
And they're lucky because when we were in school, we had to study.
That's right. Well, usually it's late afternoon, and those guys have pretty much put it in as much as they can during the day. So we give them a little bit of grace whenever we can. 1-1 the count to Hudson Reynolds. Luke Mann over at first base gets a little bit of a lead, and that one's outside. They were looking for a pitch out, and Reynolds kind of stopped for a minute, could have made it over to second, as Ethan Munoz lost a handle on it, looking to throw before he had it in his glove. And boy, we all know that one, when you try to catch the ball and throw it before you've caught it.
Right.
Every sport, that's a problem.
And I was going to say the same thing in all sports. You try to throw it before you got it.
So now the count's 2-1. And Mann takes off, and he's going to beat the throw. And once again, a little bit of trouble over at second base, hanging on to the ball. And David Lozano hit his mitt. Again, I think Luke Mann would have beaten the throw anyway. So the Renegades with 3 stolen bases on Max Kuchis so far today. And Kuchis right now with 4 strikeouts in the game, over 4 innings. Swung on and fouled back to the net. And now the count's 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out in the bottom of the 4th inning for the Renegades as they lead 2-1. Here comes the 2-2 pitch. Inside. And I must have missed it up on the board. It was 3-2, so he's going to get the walk and head on down to first base. And Dodgy Salcido coming to the plate. And what an opportunistic time for Salcido. 11 RBIs over the last 5 games, batting .444. He reached on an error in the first inning. The ball was fumbled over at second base. And that one thrown into center field as Jackson Lyons was nowhere there to even see it. I don't even know what the play was on that one. And they have had a ton of trouble over at second base today.
He wasn't anywhere near that bag or even going towards it.
And I think that some miscommunication is kind of getting to him a little bit. And the funny part is that, as we discussed, they've won 13 of the last 15 games.
Right.
The Vaqueros are the top team in the Southern Division and one of the best in all of the Western State Conference right now. But we're seeing a little bit of, I don't know what you want to call it, jitters, because they've got all the confidence in the world with that win record.
Right. You know, and we talked earlier about this team just in terms of not their size in numbers, but their size as far as their stature. These players come in, they have the height and weights of football players.
Yeah, we had a little bit of ribbing going on earlier today when we first showed up in the pregame. I was talking to Julian about the sheer magnitude of the size of this team.
Right.
And I'm talking guys that are 6'6", 230 pounds, and they have 37 players on the roster, 10 of which are under 6 foot, and all the rest are over 6 feet tall. So a large squad for this Vaquero team.
Wow. You know, and I think about Major League Baseball.
And I don't know if they were fielding a baseball team or a football team. And then I think we needed to check their licenses and their birth certificates because I think I saw a couple of them getting their kids out of the car.
You know, I let Homeland Security handle
in the parking lot. Yeah, I mean, these guys are 25, 26 years old maybe. I'm not even sure, but it's a large squad of kids. That one's going to be fouled away.
Well, Tom, I mean, we talk about that. I mean, you think about these – well, at these Division I universities, but these Major League Baseball players. I mean, a lot of these guys are giants. It's like, why are you playing baseball? We could use you somewhere else.
0-1 the count to Salcido. That one's going to be high and outside. And Salcido with runners at the corners. Again, 11 RBIs over the last 5 games. And Dodgy Salcido was in the 9 hole for the Renegades, so they love having a guy that's batting that well that late in the lineup just for an instance like this. And a big swing and a miss, and now the count 1-1. 1-2, rather.
And it'd be good for the Renegades to get at least one of these players across the plate.
And that's another issue I think the Renegades have had, is leaving runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
That one's going to be high and outside, and now the count's 2-2. We heard a little bit of booing coming out of the dugout for Glendale. They did not like the call on that one. Kushis with the 2-2 delivery. Swing and a miss, and down he goes. So the Renegades leave runners at the corners, and we're going to head to the top of the 5 inning right after this. Back for the top of the 5th inning, it's going to be Ethan Pena, Ethan Kearney, and Jackson Lyons for the Vaqueros. They trail 2-1 here in the top of the 5th inning. O'Reilly with that big curve misses off the outside of the plate, and the count's 0-1. Liam O'Reilly with 4 strikeouts so far over 4 innings. Swing and a miss. 1-1 the count. And Max Kushis, the pitcher for the Vaqueros, has 5 strikeouts so far. Fastball outside, counts 2-1. Renegades trying to hold on to a 2-1 lead here in the 5th inning. That one fouled off. Looks like it was off the plate. They're going to call it foul. And he's saying that it was on the other side of the foul line, but it never touched the ground. It did touch the plate, but, I'm a little lost on that one. It hit once on the ground to where he didn't call it foul. But then as soon as it was grabbed, he called it foul. So sometimes it's a little complicated to see what the thought process is with some of these officials. And I did have a conversation, by the way, which I think, did we talk about this? The play over at third base last week, and the play was the hand in the ball, hiding the ball in the glove trick. And so we'll get back to that one here in a second. The ball's outside, and the count's out 3-2. That one popped up, out of play. So the issue was they had tried the hide the ball in the mitt trick over at third base on Jordan Brito. And Brito stepped off the bag, and the third baseman had the ball in his glove. But the problem was that they had already called the play dead because the pitcher had not gone back onto the mound.
Right.
And the rule is, and in fact, the coach had come out of the dugout. So there was a whole bunch of reasons why the play was dead, and that was the issue as to why they didn't end up calling it.
You know, and I was so thrown as even why they even tried it. I can't remember the last time a team tried that.
And Brandon Snyder, the official that was actually out at second base, I talked to him about that after the game, and he explained it in great detail. Yeah. And it was kind of nice because I had guessed on it that was what the call was, that the play had already been called, everything had been called timeout.
Right. Because
the coach had come out of the dugout and it said as soon as he stepped out of the dugout and toward the field, timeout is called. Well, he was on the field, and they called timeout, and that was pretty much it. So one away here in the top of the fifth inning, and that one driven into right field. Torres over to cut it off. And Kearney rounding first, looking. Renegades get it back in, and he's on with a base hit with one out in the top of the fifth. So Kearney with his first hit of the game, with Jackson Lyons now coming up to bat. Lyons flew out to second. If you remember, it was popped up into the short outfield. And that one just inside. And again, O'Reilly so far has not put anybody on base by beating them today, which is really good considering the fact that he hit 7 guys last week. So here comes the 1-0 pitch. That one fouled down the right field line. Running over to get it, Torres can't get there, and it's going to be out of bounds. And I'll tell you what, Nick Martin was doing everything he could to try to chase that one down all the way from second. The speedy Nick Martin.
And, of course, the wind has died down, so had the wind been blowing, it would have hung up there for a little while, and he may have been able to get under it.
Yeah, we are pretty excited because we've been having gusts of wind all day long that have been playing havoc with our shade umbrella here. And so now maybe we'll get a little bit of a break here for a while and a little bit of shade so we can actually use it. And we love having the breeze up here. You know, up here on the hill at Bakersfield College, it's always a nice, comfortable environment, but sometimes that wind just starts to play a couple of games with us.
And it's just us. They're not bothering. It's just us. That's why.
It seems like we're the only ones getting it because everybody down below us, I don't see anything blowing down there. We are literally on the top. O'Reilly throws over to first. Kearney slides back. So here comes the 2-1 pitch. Fastball fouled out. Out of play. Two balls, 2 strikes. To Jackson Lyons. Lyons flew out to second in the third inning. So there's 1 down, 1 man on. That went inside, and a throw down to second. He's going to beat the throw. And Kearney's into second base with 1 out and a chance to score from second base. And the count is now full. And Lyons is going to get walked, trying to lean into that one, and didn't really have to because it was the 3-2 pitch. I think he's trying to get hit on that one and unsuccessful in his attempt. And now runners at first and second with 1 out in the top of the 5th inning. Renegades with a 2-1 lead. And the Vaqueros are back to the top of the order now with Alex Dolan. Dolan, the leading hitter on this squad. And we talked about him in the pregame. Dolan leading all batters with a .379 batting average at 20 stolen bases, and he has 35 RBIs, trailing only behind catcher Max Price, who has 37. So the Renegades trying to figure out what they're going to do with him, because he is the dangerous one on this squad for the Vaqueros. And Julian, we talked about this earlier. You know, Bakersfield College has always done a great job of recruiting locally, and that's kind of been their thing for years and years and years. We've had great baseball programs here. We've had great baseball players here.
Right.
And so, you know, when you look at the Vaqueros, and we talked about this, they've got players from all over the nation.
Right.
That want to go play down in Glendale, that come from all over. And so I was looking at like some of the places where they're from earlier, and it wasn't anywhere close. I mean, there were some Southern California kids, obviously, but most of their players, a lot of the players come from other areas other than Southern California. So really a good mix of finding some of the best players and doing some really good recruiting. And that strike hits the corner, and now it's no balls, 2 strikes with 1 out. And O'Reilly trying to finish off Dolan here in the top of the 5th inning. And the hit and run was on, and that one's popped up over to first base. And the Vaqueros, they don't get what they were after with a pop-up to first base, and it was a smart play with that hit and run. But that pop-up to first base kind of did away with that, and now there's 2 down here in the top of the 5th inning with Daniel Ruiz, the left fielder, coming to the plate. Ruiz got a hit in the first inning, grounded out to second in the 3rd inning. That one on the outside, and the count's 1-0. That one on the outside doesn't hit. And the count's 2-0. Liam O'Reilly really trying to paint that corner, and he's been getting it, but just a little too far outside. That one grounded over to third, and it gets through the hole, rounding for home. And Kearney scores, and now the game is tied up at 2. In what looked like a routine grounder for Dodgy Salcido, got through the gap and into shallow left field. And then Luke Mann, I thought was going to come up throwing and didn't. And Kearney scores, and Ruiz gets the RBI, and the game is tied up at 2 in the top of the 5th inning now. Ethan Munoz now at the plate. That one inside, and they're saying it hit him.
Hit him, okay.
And so now the bases are loaded for Liam O'Reilly, and he's trying to get out of a jam and hopefully only have 1 run score. So his first hit batter of the game, and it's not something that we want to say, well, at least there's only 1. I mean,
you know, and
but you kind of can't help it.
Right, and if Salcido had gotten that last ball that got through, that would have been a really tough throw because he was on the run. So it would have really been a tough throw.
David Lozano now the second baseman. And Nick Martin with a good play over at second base. And 1 run comes across, and the game is tied up at 2 as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning. It's Bakersfield College 2, Glendale Vaqueros 2.
Life's better when you're a member of Valley Strong Credit Union. Because footing the bill's hard, but getting points makes it easy. And going to the pharmacy's a pain. But saving on your prescriptions is a relief. And unexpected bills are hard. But getting your paycheck direct deposited early makes it easier. When life moves, keeping up is easy with Valley Strong's new checking benefits.
Renegades back to the top of the order with Jordan Brito, Nick Martin, and Trent Martin coming up here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Game tied at 2. And the Renegades get to start all over again, Julian Wilson. That ball misses inside. The count's 1-0. Jordan Brito got a hit in the first inning and grounded out to second in the second inning. Swing and a miss, and the count's 1-1. That pitch hit the outside corner. The count's 1 ball, 2 strikes. That curveball missed in the dirt about 3 feet before it even got to the plate.
You know, he must have let it go too late or too soon and went right to the grass.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung and fouled away. Brito just trying to get on base, the speedy base stealer. And so far, the Renegades have got 3 stolen bases on Max Kuchis so far today. And Kuchis hasn't been fooling around. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strikeouts so far in 4 innings of play. And his average is 12 per game every 9 innings. So curveball driven to right field. Alex Dolan over to get that one, and 1 away here in the bottom of the 5th. Nick Martin now coming up. Martin's been busy today. In the 3rd inning, there was a fly out to him, then there was a ground out to him, and then another ground out to him. And in the last inning, there was a fly out to him and a ground out to him. So he's had a really busy day over there at second base, doing a fantastic job for the Renegades.
Yes, if he's a little winded at the end of this one, no problem. We understand.
Martin walked in the 1st inning and got a hit in the 2nd, but got thrown out. And if you recall, he was thrown out because they say he left base. And that one he hits into left field. Ruiz over to chase it down and finally comes up with it, but they were playing him to hit into right field, not to drive one down the left field line.
Yeah, that was wide open. There's no way he was going to get to that ball.
Martin on base the third time so far today, and he's into second with a stand-up double. And now Trent Martin coming to the plate. And this situation looks familiar. That one hits the inside corner for a strike, and the count's 0-1. One down here in the bottom of the fifth and a man on second. Martin with a hit and RBI in the first inning. Driving in Jordan Brito. Then he flew out to right in the third inning, and on that play, Nick Martin was tagging and heading over to third, and he got into third just fine. But the Vaqueros with a heads-up play threw back over to second, and the second base umpire said he left early, and they called him out, and that was the end of the inning. So 1 ball, 2 strikes. And a ball low, and now the count's 2-2. Cassius with the 2-2 pitch. Right down the middle for a called strike. And down goes Martin with 2 out here in the bottom of the fifth inning. And now Trenton Hernandez coming to the plate. And 6 strikeouts for Max Cushis, Cushis, 6 strikeouts so far today. And Trenton Hernandez got a hit and an RBI, drove home Nick Martin in that first inning. On the 2 runs that got scored, that one misses on the outside. And the count's 0-1, or 1-0. Hernandez with a hit in the first and a strikeout in the third. That's in there for a strike, and now the count's 1-1. 2 down here in the bottom of the fifth. Nick Martin has some wheels over there at second base, and a big swing and a miss. And Martin just looking for the sign to take off. And Jackson Lyons, the shortstop, playing back, not really too worried about Martin getting too far off the base. Ball high, and the count's 2-2. And Lozano kind of trying to hold on Martin. He backs way back over to second base. And a swing and a miss, and down he goes. And Ethan Munoz is pumped up and likes the strikeout, the 7th of the game for Max Cushis. And we're going to head to the 6th inning after these messages.
All right.
Back for the top of the 6th inning. And the Renegades will face Max Price, Jordan Viramontes, and Ethan Pena. Price with a strikeout in the 2nd inning and reached on a fielder's choice in the 4th. And on that play, Lozano heading over to second got thrown out, but Price beat the throw. First pitch outside, and the count's 1-0. Here's the 2-0 pitch. It's a 1-1 in there, hits the corner for a strike. Another one down the middle for a strike. Now the count's 1-2. And again, Max Price, one of the bigger guys on this squad for the Vaqueros. And as we talked about earlier, when we were discussing this during the pregame, 27 of the 37 players are over 6 feet tall. So just a big guy. A curveball comes in high, and now the count 2-2. And I'm looking out on the board, and I had it wrong. Our scoreboard is a little bit hard to see in the daytime when the sun's kind of hitting on it. And it's 3-2 now. Here comes the payoff pitch, and he's going to take a walk down to first. And a leadoff walk for Liam O'Reilly in the 6th inning. So that is O'Reilly's 3rd walk of the game. And he hit a batter back in the 5th inning when he just brushed Ethan Munoz. Barely got him, but still, that's a hit batter. Sent him over to first base. So 4 runners have been put on today. And I spoke too soon.
Yeah.
Well, it looked like he got hit, but as he was coming away, it looked like he got hit, but no, the ball was just inside. And the count's 1-0. Curveball inside.
And he ducked on that pitch, so.
I'd duck too if I saw one coming at my head, but again, O'Reilly had beaten quite a few players on that exact curveball in the last game. And O'Reilly not paying attention. And Max Price basically gets a free one, no throw from Trent Martin over to second base. So now the Vaqueros trying to give back a little bit of what they got from the Renegades. And a second walk in a row for Liam O'Reilly.
And that was 4 balls, 4 straight balls.
Yeah,
so.
we may see the pitching coach come on out, and Trent Martin's going to head out and have a little conversation, try to calm him down. He's got runners at first and second now with nobody out here in the top of the 6th inning.
And we don't have anybody warming up, so he's going to be here for another.
Well, I do see somebody down in the bullpen right now, but nobody's throwing yet.
Nobody's throwing, yeah.
There's a couple of guys down there, but nobody's gotten going. So we'll have to wait and see as Ethan Pena now comes to the plate. Pena with a hit in the 1st inning. Tries to lay down a bunt. That one's fouled back. Pena with a hit, rather, in the 2nd inning. And scored an RBI, advancing David Lozano to home plate. And he flew out to second base in the 5th inning. Trenton Hernandez, the first baseman, coming all the way down the line as they're trying to advance. Max Pierce from second to third. Trying to get 2 runners into scoring position here. Pena showing bunt, pulls away, and pulled away in time as that one came in high.
Yeah, came in high and straight for the chest cavity. So
now the count's 2-1 to Ethan Pena. Pena once again showing bunt. O'Reilly almost jumbled that one a little bit. Threw it over to the other side. Nick Martin came over to first to cover and one away. The runners both advance. So now 2 runners in scoring position for the Vaqueros with Ethan Kearney coming to the plate. So Pena doing a good job of doing his job and advancing both runners into scoring position now. Ethan Kearney now. Kearney struck out in the second inning and got a hit in the 5th. Oh, and that one just misses. And a runner is going to score as Max Price comes home. And that stolen base earlier in the inning is really starting to rear its ugly head. And they get a run on. And a base hit out of Ethan Kearney. And now he's 2 for 3 today. And Jackson Lyons now coming to the plate. Lyons flew out to second base in the 3rd inning and walked in the 5th. Carroll's now leading 3-2 over the Renegades in the top of the 6th inning.
Yeah, you mentioned that stolen base. It wasn't so bad it was a stolen base. It was the way it happened. It was like they didn't even see.
And Trent Martin lets Kearney go all the way down to second base and thought maybe he was going to catch the third base runner. Jordan Viramontes a little bit off the bag, but no dice. And now it is completely up to Liam O'Reilly to shut this one out and get 2 outs in the top of the 6th inning and hopefully come away with only 1 run scored. But now the Renegades trail 3-2. No balls, 2 strikes, the count. That one's in there high, and the count's 1-2. The 1-2 pitch. Checking to see if he swung and didn't come all the way around, and now the count's 2-2. That one fouled away. Count remains 2-2. And we're here in the top of the 6th inning. Renegades trailing 3-2 after Max Price reached first base on a walk, then stole second base. Then he was moved over on a sacrifice bunt from Ethan Pena. And then scored on the base hit from Ethan Kearney. So Liam O'Reilly giving up 3 runs over 6 innings so far. And again, not a bad effort on his part. Renegades just having trouble getting runs across.
Right. You know, and a couple of defensive errors that we've had haven't helped. But
so 2-2 the count on Jackson Lyons. O'Reilly delivers, and that one's driven into left field by Lyons. And a run comes across. And Kearney is held at third, But the damage is done as Lyons gets the RBI and scores a runner. And now it's 4-2.
And we do have somebody throwing, so let's see what happens here.
Kurt Townsend coming out to have a conversation. And that looks like it's going to do it for Liam O'Reilly. And a new pitcher coming in for the Renegades. We'll be back with that right after this.
Life's better when you're a member of Valley Strong Credit Union. Because footing the bill's hard, but getting points makes it easy. And going to the pharmacy's a pain. But saving on your prescriptions is a relief. And unexpected bills are hard. But getting your paycheck direct deposited early makes it easier. When life moves, keeping up is easy with Valley Strong's new checking benefits.
So coming in now for the Renegades, number 7, Tony Fabian. 11 appearances so far this season and a 7.20 ERA. 5.7 strikeouts for every 9 innings. And he has struck out 16 batters so far. Batters are hitting .220 with runners in scoring position against Fabian. So Alex Dolan has yet to get a big hit. Oh, and a big play over at second base by Nick Martin. Just the scoop, but it brings across another run. And now it's 5-2 in favor of the Vaqueros here in the top of the 6th. But what a great play by Nick Martin. The backhand that just got underneath the foot of the second base umpire. And Martin just flipped it over to Reynolds and throw over to second base, and it's not in time, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Dropped the ball.
And, you know, when he flipped that ball, he wasn't trying to be fancy. That was the only way he was going to get that ball.
You're absolutely right. That's the only play he had, but a great play at that. And Daniel Ruiz now at the plate. And the count's 1-0. And the Vaqueros still putting the pressure on with 2 outs here in the top of the 6th inning. Now on the inside corner. Ruiz thought about it. And the count's 1-1. All grounded foul down the right field line. And now the count's 1-2. Fabian with the 1-2 pitch now. That one over to third base. Salcido throws him out. And 3 runs will come across here in the top of the 6th inning. It's the Renegades 2. The Vaqueros 5. We'll be back with the bottom of the 6th after this. Renegades will have Isaac Torres, Ben Uliat, and Luke Mann coming up here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Trailing 5-2 on the Glendale City College Vaqueros. And the Renegades were tied up with them 2-2 for 3 innings before Liam O'Reilly just couldn't hang on any longer and got punched out in the 6th inning. That one fouled off the foot of Isaac Torres. Torres struck out in the 1st inning and grounded out in the 4th. Isaac with a .350 batting average so far this season. Fouls that one back to the net, and the count's 0-2. And, I snuck down into the dugout before the game today, Julian, and got to kind of just hang out down there for a second with Ben Uliat. And, the team was remarkably calm and just ready to go and watching these guys on the field and just kind of studying what they do. And, baseball players are kind of a, what do you call it, superstitious bunch.
Yes.
And they like everything kind of the same in every way, shape, or form. So following through on a game and that game ritual, just kind of keeping an eye on things.
Yeah, the superstition part, I get hit with it all the time. Sometimes I'll do something that's a little off baseball color, so to speak. And they'll say, hey, you're going to ruin it. Like, come on.
Well, the last thing I was doing was talk to Dodgy Salcido about his recent production, and so I kind of stayed away from him. But I did ask Ben Uliat about it, and that one's headed towards my vehicle in the parking lot. Hopefully it doesn't strike it.
Just yours, right?
Yeah, that's all right. I got insurance. Got good insurance.
Well, if you need some more insurance, I know a guy, okay?
2-2 the count. Swung on over to second base. Handled by Lozano. Lozano. Oh, and he doesn't get the throw there in time. And Torres beats out the throw. And now the Renegades have a runner on with nobody out in the bottom of the 6th. And Ben Uliat coming to the plate. Uliat with a fly out to right in the 1st inning and struck out in the 4th inning. Curveball outside, and the count's 1-0. So the Renegades trying to climb back into this one. Outfield shifted to the right. That one off the outside hits the corner, and the count's 1-1. There is nobody in left field for a good 40 yards. And Daniel Ruiz is playing left center. And now Ethan Kearney slides back over towards center, and that one's up the middle. And Uliat needs to get on his pony, or they're going to be a double play. And he's called out, hits into the double play, and 2 are down now here in the bottom of the 6th.
Do they know something that we don't know? I mean, that's completely wide open.
Well, they do know something that we don't know because generally speaking, the pitcher is being told to put the ball in the outside corner to Uliat, giving him no chance of pulling it down the third base line. And so they still have the shift on. So what you're going to see is pitches hitting the outside corner of that plate by Max Kushis. And Kushis in his 6th inning right now, still in control, as the Renegades have been able to give little production. That one off the outside, now the count's 1-1. So again, the outfield, Daniel Ruiz, the left fielder, is playing left center. And that one right down the middle for a strike. And the count's 1-2. Ethan Kearney is playing in right center. So they are playing it. And a mistake hopefully doesn't get made by Kushis, because if he puts one inside, then Luke Mann's going to drive it right down to third base, but he sits there looking and goes down without even swinging. And it's 5-2 as we head to the 7th inning. Renegades trailing. We'll be back with more baseball after this. Ethan Munoz leading off here in the bottom of this, or the top of the 7th rather. And Max Kushis with 8 strikeouts so far today. And we've been kind of talking about just kind of the production that he's put up. It's kind of remarkable.
Yes, it is.
And really just shutting down the Renegades and not giving them any chance. Renegades have had a couple of chances with runners in scoring position, but have not been able to advance them so far today. and really haven't done much since the first inning, Julian.
Right. You mentioned, the pitcher for Glendale. He's averaging 12 strikeouts per game, so per 9 innings. So he's about on his average right now.
Ethan Munoz leading off here in the top of the 7th. 1-2 the count. That one's outside. Now the count's 2-2. Munoz grounded out to short in the first inning, struck out in the fourth, and was hit by Liam O'Reilly to advance over to first base, and swings on one outside, and down he goes, and one away in the top of the 7th. Five strikeouts today for Liam O'Reilly over 5 2/3 innings. And now David Lozano coming to the plate. Lozano walked in the second. Got a hit in the fourth and then grounded out to second in the fifth. One ball, no strikes the count. Curveball misses inside, and the count's 2-0. Tony Fabian on the mound now for the Renegades. Two unearned runs scored on him in that 6th inning. But managed to get the final 2 outs of the inning, and he's going to walk the second batter in the 7th inning. And now the Renegades are going to see Max Price. And Price started it all off back in the last inning. The leader of that 3-run inning for the Vaqueros. And he walked in the last inning. Struck out in the second and got to first base on a fielder's choice. That one fouled down third base line. Again, he got to first base on a fielder's choice in the 4th inning. But when he walked in the last inning, he stole second base almost immediately. And honestly, I think O'Reilly was just asleep at the wheel, wasn't really paying attention, didn't think that the big guy was going to go. That one pulled foul over the third base fence. And the count's 0-2. Price has 7 home runs so far on the season and is the leading home run hitter on this squad for the Vaqueros. So the Renegades and Tony Fabian really need to watch their P's and Q's here because Price can make them pay. And he's batting .275, but he's got a slugging percentage of .560. So Max Price looking to extend it here. The count is 0-2. Fabian throws over to first. Just trying to keep an eye on David Lozano over there. Lozano only has 3 stolen bases on the season so far. And Max Price actually only has 6. Well, now he's got 7. And time is going to get called here, as the coach wanted to come over and talk to Max Price. And the Renegades really kind of trying to hold Price at bay. And you can't really walk him because he's just as dangerous on the bases as he is at the plate. And they may have wanted to talk to David Lozano as well, but again, Lozano only has 3 stolen bases so far on the season. So you know Tony Fabian's being told to kind of keep an eye on Lozano over there at first base. And that one driven into left field, but it's a routine fly ball for Daniel Ruiz out there. It was kind of headed toward the gap, but it didn't have enough speed, and Ruiz is able to get over there and track it down for the second out of the inning. So a fly out to left for Max Price, and Jordan Viramontes now coming to the plate. Viramontes reached on an error in the second inning, struck out in the fourth, and walked in the sixth. Viramontes with a .295 batting average and a .547 slugging percentage. And the reason that the slugging percentage starts to become kind of interesting at this level is the ability to put the ball in play, whether or not you get on or not. You can still advance runners. Now, granted, we have 2 outs now, but even at that point, if you got a runner at third base and you got a guy with a high slugging percentage, chances are he's going to put that thing in the outfield. Two balls, no strikes the count to Viramontes. Viramontes with 28 RBIs so far on the season. He has struck out 33 times, so he's the leading strikeout leader on this squad. And a swing and a miss, and now the count's 2-1. Viramontes has 6 home runs so far on the season. The second leading home run hitter on the squad for the Vaqueros. And the secret to the Vaqueros' win streak may be the fact that they just hang around. You know, they were down early and then scored a run in the second inning. Oh, and that one thrown past the first baseman. And rounding for third. And he's going to get in there standing up, and now the Vaqueros putting more pressure on the Renegades as David Lozano takes advantage of the errant throw by Tony Fabian. And a big mistake by Fabian. And a 2-1 count to Jordan Viramontes. Viramontes, the big swing. And the miss, and now it's 2-2. Fabian trying to get out of this inning unscathed. And the 2-2 pitch. Off the plate outside, and now the count is full. So we've seen all kinds of drama today.
Right. I don't remember us watching a game where we've seen this many, just mistakes.
And it's not just the mistakes, it's the mistakes at exactly the wrong time.
Right.
And that's kind of been the MO for the Renegades as of late. And the Vaqueros, they're not alone in that. They've kind of been on the same track. They've made some mistakes today as well. We saw a bad throw over to first base in one of the earlier innings where the Renegades were able to advance a runner. It didn't produce any runs, but mistakes nevertheless, and a lot of mistakes down at second base today by the Vaqueros.
Yeah, and that's why I said, we hadn't seen this many mistakes, and it's coming from both sides. And so it's just kind of right at the wrong time.
So Viramontes with the ball inside takes the walk. And now there's runners at the corners with Ethan Pena coming to the plate. And he sacrificed the big sacrifice on that sacrifice bunt in the last inning to advance Max Price over to third base before he scored. Fabian trying to hold Viramontes on over at first, does not want to give him second base. No balls, 1 strike to Ethan Pena. And that one a shot down the third base line, foul. And it's 0-2 now to Pena. And looking down at number 13, Ethan Pena. He's 6'3", 190 pounds, and he's going to take that one in the shoulder, not even getting out of the way, and now the bases are going to get loaded up. And Tony Fabian in a pickle here with bases loaded. 2 down here in the top of the 7th inning. And the second hit batter of the game for the Renegades. And Ethan Kearney coming to the plate. And Ethan is 2 for 3 with a strikeout in the 2nd inning. But he got a hit in the 5th and a hit in the 6th, including that RBI. First pitch off the plate outside, and the count's 1-0. A high dribbling, and it's just foul. And a good thing because the Renegades were going to have trouble tracking that one down. Pena running toward it. But there would have been nobody there to cover unless Pena would have run towards first base instead, which he was not running towards first base. Both he and Trenton Hernandez were heading towards the ball out of bounds. So nobody would have covered and a run would have scored. So now the count's 1-1. And that one into center field. And Jordan Brito with the can of corn. And we're heading to the bottom of the 7th inning after this. So Kason Bradford coming in for the Renegades will lead off here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Bradford out of Frontier High School. I have known Kason Bradford for a number of years. I'm excited to get him watch him come into the game. His first at bat now. And the first pitch called strike. And the count's 0-1. Big swing and a miss. And Max Kushis, we had a little conversation about him during the break, and still firing on all cylinders here after 6 full innings, and that one's outside. Now the count's 1-2. And Kush is just one of those big guys. I mean, he's 6'6", 230 pounds.
Wow.
And his 9th strikeout now of the game as Kason Bradford goes down looking.
And you know he's fully aware of where he is statistically. And so I'm definitely sure that that's part of the reason why he's still in pitching.
So Dodgy Salcido up for the 3rd time today. And a curveball hits the outside corner, and it's 0-1. And hey, even Dodgy Salcido's entitled to a bad day. And so far today, he reached in the 2nd on an error and struck out in the 3rd. And now the count's 0-2. That one high and outside, misses the corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count to Dodgy Salcido. Kush is trying to get that outside corner. Misses, and the count's 2-2. High roller over to first base. Kushis covers, and 2 are down in the bottom of the 7th. And now we're back at the top of the order with Jordan Brito. Brito with a hit in the 1st inning, grounded out to 2nd in the 2nd inning, and flew out to right field in the 5th. Curveball misses inside. And Kush is just looking confident out there on the mound after 7 2/3 innings. High grounder over to 3rd, covered. And 3 up, 3 down here in the bottom of the 7th as we head to the 8th inning. More Renegade baseball after this. Number 13, Anthony Nunez coming in for the Renegades over at 3rd base to start the 8th inning. And leading off for Glendale, Jackson Lyons. Lyons takes ball high. Nunez gets tested early with the grounder and throws out Lyons over at first, one down. So back to the top of the lineup now, Alex Dolan. Dolan grounded out to first, grounded out to second, flew out on an infield fly to first base in the fifth, and reached on a fielder's choice in the sixth, and they're still testing Nunez. And Dolan lays down a fantastic bunt down third base line. And Anthony Nunez just couldn't get to it in time. So one down here in the top of the eighth inning. And Daniel Ruiz coming to the plate. Ruiz 2 for 4 today with 2 RBIs. And he gets hit on the first pitch. And now runners at first and second with 1 out. And a tough go for the Renegades here in the eighth inning. And Tony Fabian, after that first out, thought he was in control. And now things kind of going sideways a little bit on him with 2 men on and 1 out. Ethan Munoz now coming to the plate. Munoz 1 for 4 so far today with 2 strikeouts. That one in there low. And the count's 1 ball, no strikes. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Both runners going. And the throw down to third base not in time. And both runners advance. As the Vaqueros still putting their foot down on the gas pedal and not letting up. As now they've got 2 runners in scoring position. And the infield now has to play in and try to prevent another run from coming across with only 1 down here in the eighth inning. 1-1 the count. Curveball in there for a strike, and the count's 1-2. So the entire infield about 1 to 2 feet off the infield grass. That one just misses, and the count's 2-2. Grounder over to short, and throw home, and tags him. And the Renegades prevent the run from scoring. So Munoz over to first base on a fielder's choice. But Alex Dolan thrown out at the plate. And the runner out easily. And a great job by Hudson Reynolds at shortstop of throwing him out at the plate. Actually, that might have been Anthony Nunez. I can't remember whether it was third base or short. It might have been short. And now 2 down here in the top of the eighth inning. And the Renegades trying to keep the Vaqueros scoreless in the inning. Ball misses inside. David Lozano now up. Has walked twice, once in the second and once in the seventh. Got a hit in the fourth and grounded out to second in the fifth inning. That one hits the inside of the plate, and the count's 1-1. Lozano stepping out of the box. Trying to get a reset here. Counts 1-1, 2 out in the top of the 8th. Swung on over to shortstop and mishandled by the sure-handed Hudson Reynolds. And the Vaqueros are going to score on an error from shortstop.
And there again, we have one of those mistakes at the wrong time, and that was a perfect example.
So a huge mistake on the part of Hudson Reynolds. A routine grounder that he just could have flipped over to second base would have ended the inning, and the Renegades allow a runner across.
And Tom, what did we say earlier? Trying to throw the ball before you got it.
Yeah, that seems to be the theme today on both squads. And now the last person that you wanted to see coming up here in the 8th inning was going to be Max Price, the designated hitter. And again, Price, the home run leader on this squad for the Vaqueros. 37 RBIs this season and 7 home runs. That one fouled off the top of the dugout and out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Max Price. Runners at first and second. Renegades trailing 6-2 here in the top of the 8th inning. Here comes the 1-1 pitch. That one driven into the gap in left center, and 2 runs are going to come across. And Price digging gets into second base, and he gets thrown out over at second, but the damage was already done. And he gets 2 RBIs, and the lead is extended 8-2. And I may stand corrected. I'm looking out on the box.
7.
And it says 7. So my mistake. 7-2. And we're heading to the bottom of the 8th inning right after this.
Life's better when you're a member of Valley Strong Credit Union. Because footing the bill's hard, but getting points makes it easy. And going to the pharmacy's a pain. But saving on your prescriptions is a relief. And unexpected bills are hard. But getting your paycheck direct deposited early makes it easier. When life moves, keeping up is easy with Valley Strong's new checking benefits.
So heading into the bottom of the 8th inning. And the Renegades trailing 7-2. And a couple of runs across in that last inning. And Max Kuch is still going strong here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Kucha so far 9 strikeouts in the game and has held the Renegades to only scoring in the first inning. 2 runs, that's it. So Kucha's doing his job. and keeping the Renegades quiet for the last 6 innings. That one fouled off by Nick Martin. Martin walked in the first inning, got a hit in the third, and a double in the fifth. That double in the fifth was the only production that the Renegades had in that inning. Previously, Jordan Brito in the inning had flown out to right. Then Martin got a double, but then Trent Martin and Trenton Hernandez were both struck out by Cushas in the bottom of the fifth. So his dominance in this game as one of the best pitchers that the Vaqueros have is evident. That one fouled off and back. And the count's 2-2. Correction, 3-2. That one fouled. Out of play. Along the third base fence line. So Martin hanging around. In that first inning, he got Cushas to pitch 11 times to him. And I don't know what the pitch count is on Cushas right now, but Nick Martin had most of it in that first inning.
Right.
And he was looking like he was going to run down to first base with a smile on his face, and instead heads to the dugout in shame. Thought that one was the good one, and it's not. Called out on strikes. And 10 strikeouts now for Max Cushas in the game. Trent Martin now coming up to bat. Martin 1 for 3 with an RBI. Part of that scoring duo in the first inning. With a base hit, flew out to right in the third and then struck out in the fifth. Big swing and a miss. Counts 0-2 to Martin.
Well, we can both agree for certain, and I'm sure everyone in the audience can agree, he's thrown enough pitches for today, so.
That one in there high, and the count's 1-2. So the jury is still out as to whether or not Max Cushas is going to see the ninth inning and try to complete an entire game. That one driven down third base.
To the void.
And there's nobody out there as the outfield had shifted right. And a double for Trent Martin here in the bottom of the eighth inning. And the Renegades hoping to get a little bit of production. And now Trenton Hernandez coming to the plate. Hernandez struck out in the third and struck out in the fifth. He does have an RBI after getting a hit in the first inning. Once again, we've talked about the Renegades. Their only production came in the first inning today. They've been on a dry spell ever since. First pitch high, and the count's 1-0. Trent Martin, for a catcher, is pretty speedy and has the ability to steal bases. And a conversation is going to be had as Glendale coach Alex Kokel comes out to the mound, and he's going to have a little conversation with his pitcher.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to pull him out, but they do have someone warming up in their bullpen.
They've got a lefty out there warming up right now, and he's going to leave Cushas in for now. And Cushas with the comfortable 7-2 lead. But we've seen how leads can evaporate really quickly sometimes.
It's baseball. That is baseball.
So Trenton Hernandez, the first baseman, up to bat. 1 ball, no strikes the count, and that one popped up. And everybody's calling for it. Ethan Munoz is going to take it, the catcher. And now there's 2 down in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Isaac Torres now coming up to bat, the right fielder. Struck out in the first inning. Grounded out to second in the 4th inning. And then got a hit in the 5th. But he did get thrown out on a double play in that same inning when Ben Uliat hit the grounder to shortstop. First pitch called strike, and the count's 0-1. Swing and a miss. 2 strikes now to Isaac Torres. Trent Martin over at second base. Gets a lead. That one's outside. Nobody really covering over at second base right now. David Lozano, the second baseman, and Jackson Lyons, the shortstop. Milling around a little bit, not really looking too serious or too concerned about Trent Martin stealing third base. Chopper over to second, shortstop rather. Thrown over to first, and he's down. No runs, no hits. 1 hit, rather. And we're heading to the top of the 9th inning. More Renegade baseball coming up right after this.
Life's better when you're a member of Valley Strong Credit Union. Because footing the bill's hard, but getting points makes it easy. And going to the pharmacy's a pain. But saving on your prescriptions is a relief. And unexpected bills are hard. But getting your paycheck direct deposited early makes it easier. When life moves, keeping up is easy with Valley Strong's new checking benefits.
Back here in the top of the 9th inning, as the Vaqueros lead the Renegades 7-2. Fly out to center, and 1 away. Jordan Brito's been kind of quiet out there in center field today. Only had a couple of them hit out there to him. And now Ethan Pena coming up to bat. Pena with a hit in the first inning, or second inning rather, with an RBI. And then he flew out to second, grounded out to the pitcher. And that ground at the pitcher we know was a sacrifice bunt that advanced a couple of runners over and enabled them to score later on in that inning. And then he was hit in the 7th inning. And we thought Pena was coming up to bat, but something has kind of stopped here for a second. I don't know if they're warming somebody up and bringing in a pinch hitter. They have not stated that yet. Now, Pena's getting instructions. Actually, he's just a little delayed in getting over and into the box.
Someone was talking to him about the bat, and he kept gripping it in different locations, so I don't know if what type of issue he was having there.
Curveball in there, hits the outside corner for a strike, and the count's 0-1. So as big of a lead as the Vaqueros have, they're still getting instruction from the bench on what they should be doing at each at-bat, and that just kind of shows you that they really don't want to take their foot off the gas. Alex Kokal, the coach, 21-10-1 so far on the season and 13-0 in conference. The Vaqueros are just super serious about this game right now.
Right. Well, everybody's getting ready for postseason. Postseason is coming up quick, so if you're not going to be able to take off your gas during postseason, you got to practice it now, and so that's what they're doing.
And with a loss here, the Renegades will drop to 6-8 in conference, and that's not helping their cause, as they'll be trailing 3 teams for second place. Ball outside, the count's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fabian with the 2-2 pitch. Swung on and popped up. Nick Martin at second base will cover. And there's 2 away here in the top of the 9th inning. Now, Ethan Kearney coming up to bat. Kearney 2 for 4 today with a strikeout and a fly out to center. And we are trying not to giggle as much as possible right now. The wind has been blowing us around up here on top of the press box at Bakersfield College all day long, and Julian Wilson almost got stabbed to death.
Death? Jeez, it's so final.
So now I'm going to have to stand up for a little while and kind of protect him from this umbrella. This umbrella that has just been doing a job on the 2 of us all day long.
Wow. Thank you, Tom.
I did my best to try to protect you as much as I could, Julian.
Man, to the end.
2 balls, 1 strike. That one on the outside corner hits. And now it's 2-2. Kearney up to bat with nobody on. And that one misses, and now the count is full. And the Renegades would like to get out of this one without having any base runners. They've had base runners in every inning for the last 5 innings. And it's kind of hard to fight off some runs when every inning you've got runners on the bases. Fabian with the pitch. That one's popped up, out of play. Martin going back. That one actually lands in the stands. Kind of a quiet day out here at the ballpark. Kind of hard to make it to a Thursday afternoon game. Got another game coming up, I believe, next Saturday night, right, Julian, here?
Next Saturday night, that's right.
I believe that'll be our final game of the season.
6 p.m.
That one overthrown. And Nick Martin turned to throw and kind of lost it and just jetted it right over the top of Trenton Hernandez. And Trent Martin was back trying to cover it along with Tony Fabian. And Kearney makes it to first base and reaches on an error. Although that may be ruled a hit because Nick Martin had to go almost all the way deep, partially into the outfield to make that throw. So they're going to rule that a hit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great stop, so it's just a bad throw.
No balls, one strike to Jackson Lyons. And Lyons with a fly out to second base in the third inning. He walked in the fifth, got a hit and an RBI in the sixth, and grounded out to third base in the eighth inning. Martin with a big throw down to first base on that. Kearney was able to get back easily. And the hit run was on. And a drive into right field. And the ball quickly back in at second base. And now runners are at the corners for Tony Fabian. And Jackson Lyons with his second hit of the game. And now a conversation is going to happen on the mound. And they're going to bring in someone from the bullpen to try to finish this one out here in the top of the ninth inning. And we'll be back with this one right after this. Jace Moore coming in relief for Tony Fabian. Moore, the sophomore pitcher. An 8.18 ERA. And appearing in 9 games so far, 22 innings with 25 strikeouts. So being brought on here to try to finish this one off and get the Renegades out of the inning without getting a run scored. Ball hits the inside corner for a strike, and the count is 1-1. Swing and a miss, and running down to second, and he He wasn't even sure. The run is going to score, but the Renegades are going to get out of the inning, but they let the run come across. And I'm not so sure about the mindset on that play by letting a run come across, even though you were going to get the out. But the Renegades get 3 outs, and one comes across as we head to the bottom of the 9th after this. So the Vaqueros sticking with Cushis for the remainder of this one. He's going to try to get 9 innings. And Jackson McDonald, number 20, coming in to pinch hit for the Renegades here in the bottom of the 9th inning. McDonald with a .250 batting average. He's going to drive that one into shallow right field. Going back, can't get a hold of it. And that one just off the glove of Jordan Viramontes, trying to find it over his head, and a great effort. But that's a tough one when you're running backwards and you're looking kind of back over the back of you.
Yeah, he didn't have a beat on that ball at all. So it's I'm not surprised.
Amazing that he got a hand on it.
Yeah.
So Luke Mann now coming up to bat for the Renegades. Mann 1 for 3 today with a hit, a fly out to right, and a strikeout. Pitch outside, the count's 0-1. 1-0, rather. That one misses, and now it's 2-0. So Jackson McDonald comes in and gets a hit right off the bat. And pitch called strike, and now the count's 2-1. This game right now coming in at 2 hours and 47 minutes. And back in the old days, that would be a 3.5-hour game, but now with the advent of the pitch clock, the games tend to go a little bit faster.
Yeah, it tends to, and then sometimes you can't tell the difference, but it is an improvement.
So again, we are 2 hours and 48 minutes into this one. Swing and a miss, and the count's 3-2. So Luke Mann trying to advance Jackson McDonald over to second base. Check swing high. A check with the second base umpire. He did not come around, and he'll take a walk down to first base, and now it's runners at first and second. Nobody out with Anthony Nunez coming to the plate. Nunez came into the game in the 7th inning and grounded out to first base rather. He replaced Dodgy Salcido. And as we had stated previously, Salcido with a fantastic last 5 games, batting .444 and driving in 11 runs. But today, Salcido went 0 for 2, did reach on an error in the 2nd inning, but struck out in the 4th. And the Renegades really weren't able to get any offense going after the 1st inning when they scored 2. Pitch in there for a strike, and now the count's 1-2. That one's hit deep to center field. And McDonald was going to tag. Chose not to. Hustle back over to second base. And now 1 away. And back to the top of the order with Jordan Brito coming to the plate now. Well, and I stand corrected. I'm a little mixed up on my order here because they still have Dodgy Salcido in the game. They must have reinserted him back in the 9 spot. Salcido with a swing and a miss. No balls, 1 strike. Max Kush is trying to complete the entire game. 9 strikeouts so far on the day. That one hits the outside corner. Salcido cringing at the plate. No balls, 2 strikes. Renegades have runners at first and second. Check on that is safe. He did not come around, and the count's 1-2. Kushis with the 1-2 pitch. Swung and missed. And Salcido goes down. And now there's 2 away in the bottom of the 9th inning. And Kushis 1 away from throwing a complete game with Jordan Brito coming to the plate.
And that's strikeout what, number?
Strikeout number 10 for Max Kushis today.
Might be, let's see, it might be 11. Let's check.
That would be number 10.
Number 10.
0-1 the count to Jordan Brito. Brito 1 for 4 today. Pitch hits the inside corner, and now the count 0-2. And again, Max Kushis 1 pitch away from a complete game. You can hear the noise coming out of his dugout right now. That one off the outside. And the count's 1-2 now. And part of that noise is coming from Max Kushis himself. We can hear it all the way up here. And he is giving it everything he's got right now. All 6'6", 230 pounds of him. I mean, that's just a massive pitcher. Here's the delivery. That one's high. Now the count's 2-2.
And I mean, I shudder to say this. I mean, he has to be pretty close to 100, if not at 100.
Two balls, two strikes, two out, the bottom of the ninth. Swung on grounder over to third. And rolls foul. Renegades trailing 8-2 here in the bottom of the ninth inning. On the day, the Renegades have 10 hits compared to the Vaqueros' 12 hits. And they've scored 1 error for the Vaqueros and 2 for the Renegades. So the Renegades have had some opportunities. They just have not been able to capitalize on those today. Kush is over to second. Trying to get an easy one there and steal the game away. 3-2 the count. Runners are going. That's probably a good time to try to pick somebody off over at second base. Runners go. And an easy one over to first base, and that's going to put it away. And the Vaqueros improved to 14-0 in the Western State Conference. And Kush is getting congratulated by all of his teammates on a complete game and 10 strikeouts today, and an amazing performance by Max Kushis for the Glendale City College Vaqueros. Julian, what do you think?
We have to give it to him. You know, we're here for the Renegades, and we're here for Glendale too. But, man, that was an amazing pitching performance, especially not getting shuttered after that first inning where he gave up 2 runs.
Renegades coming out of the gate scoring 2 runs early, but then just couldn't finish it any further down the line. And really, I mean, what can you say? Their production is just kind of it's hit and miss right now.
Yeah, and it's like you said with the Vaqueros, you know, this is probably how they've won all of their games. They just stay in the game, and they just pick away at it, and at the end of the game, they have the higher score.
After the first couple innings, I thought the Renegades were actually going to be able to punch out Max Kushis, but were unable to do so. And he just, like you said, hung around, ended up pitching a complete game. Not bad for a guy that got 2 runs scored on him pretty easily in that first inning.
Right, and I don't think the coach wants to pitch him like that too many more times before they get into their postseason. I mean, we wear out.
So fans, be sure to join us back here on the Renegade Network on Saturday night. The Renegade volleyball. I got volleyball stuck in my head. We've been doing volleyball. Renegade softball will be happening up here at Bakersfield College.
And that'll be Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon. Go to GoGades.com to get game time information. And then join Julian and I back here next Saturday. Game time set for 6 p.m., I believe. Check that also on GoGades. We'll be broadcasting that game as well. And for everybody here at Bakersfield College, this has been Titan Tom Myers and the Dr. Julian Wilson. We'll see you next time, everybody.